I'll drop the tweet. And we're live.
Hey,
Austin. Hey. So, for everyone joining, Austin heroically stepped in at the last minute here. We were going to have a stream with the folks at React Query. Dominic was going to be on stream, and we're going to talk all about that. But Dominic unfortunately had some illness earlier this week, so we've rescheduled that one to next week. So be sure to check out next week's ones too. But don't miss this one because Austin's here, and we're going to chat about publishing. But while we're waiting
yeah.
for some people to file in, Austin and I were just talking off camera, or off the broadcast at least, about Chat GPT. So
Yeah.
I know some people are like muting that on Twitter, so I don't. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it. But what were you gonna say? You said there's a project you were gonna
Oh,
be
I was
working
just
on.
gonna say I've been enjoying using AI tools to help with all kinds of engineering problems. Like most recently, using I needed to generate an index.ts file, right?
Okay.
I got a folder with a bunch of models in it, and I want to export all of them. Just export star from whatever file it is. And there's like, I don't know, 50, 60 different files in here. And I
Right.
was thinking, and I'm like, well, normally I'd just go in, create the index.ts file, and just start typing export star from, and just do autocomplete, and just kind of
Yep.
zone out and do that for a few minutes. And then I thought, I bet I could create a script to do this. And so I created a script, just like a shell script, and I
Wait, are you
started messing
using?
with it.
So you're using like Bash as a language, or are you using like the Node
Bash.
file
It, wa-
system?
it was gonna be
Just Bash.
Bash,
Okay.
although it doesn't really matter. But
It matters
and
to me
I
because I don't know what's going on with Bash scripts.
got it, got it. Yeah, but I started messing with it a little bit, and I was like, I wonder if I could get an AI to write this for me. And so I went over to ChatGPT and was like, "Can you just make me a script that'll export all of my TypeScript files from here?" And
Nice.
it did. It did, and it wrote it line by line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it ended up working. I took it and I modified it so that I could pass in a directory argument, so I didn't have to be in the current directory every time. But
Yeah.
it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool. Yeah, I
I
think
think
there's
it.
some ways to like prompt Copilot. I normally just use
Yeah.
Copilot for like the in IDE completion kind of deal,
Hmm.
but I want to get better at using that, especially with the new features that are coming out soon. It seems like it would be really cool to just be like, "Hey, make me a script that does this," and then wait for it to give you some
Yeah.
responses. So,
Yeah. No, I use Copilot all the time. I love it. It's a
yeah.
good autocomplete.
Yeah.
It's also funny sometimes when it just proposes something it thinks you want and it's just
Right.
completely off, but kind of makes sense and some like backward logic. That's also just kind of funny to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a tweet about like I was trying to type out flush microtasks,
Hmm.
and it ended up like trying to autocomplete it to flush Michael Jackson of all things. I uh yeah.
Uh,
Let me see if I can find that actually.
have you done the trick where if you want it to generate something as a prompt, just make like a code comment, like just start typing like a JS
Oh.
doc of a method that does something, and then it'll fill in below.
Oh yeah.
I've
No,
seen
I haven't
that.
I haven't tried that one yet. But yeah, here's
Hmm.
a let me just throw it on screen here. Yeah, here's the now you see here I have the MICH, but I swear what had happened, I swear it had done it at MIC. And after I
Okay,
like
okay,
went back to like keep going and put once I put in the R, it went to flush microtask. It's like it figured it out at that point. So I had to add the H
okay.
back in to get it back. But I don't know. This was a
I
bizarre moment.
I want to know what it thinks set immediate does.
Yeah.
That function in the middle.
Is it that a
Uh,
thing? I don't know.
I I don't know.
Now you got me Googling
I know
NPM.
now I'm wondering.
I think it's like set. Is it set timeout? But it's yeah. Look at that. It's a thing.
Okay,
Um.
I learned something today. I've never used that.
Yeah. I think it's just like set timeout only. So like it'll queue it on the micro task queue.
Hmm.
But yeah. But it's like yeah. I don't know. Sorry. It's really small here. I'm sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is kind of what I expected it to be. I
Yeah,
never really
that's
used
what I
it
was thinking.
before.
Yeah.
I always just do this
Hmm.
if I want to do this.
That's
So
what I've done in the past. Yeah. I
yeah,
guess set immediate works.
yep.
Hmm.
All right. Well, let's put this away. Let's put this away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because we got fun stuff to talk about with publishing. Now, the way Austin and I were prepping for this, we want to have it to be like here's a main quest that's like we'll go to what we promised, which was like take you from I don't know, some package that you have that you want to share with people to setting up a GitHub workflow so that you can use GitHub Actions to just automatically do this on a button press. But we've got a whole bunch of side quests that if we hit, we hit them. So
Mhm.
I guess the first thing to start with is just how to publish. Austin, let me drop that in. This will be like our map. So how do we publish? Let's move us down to the bottom. Give us a little bit more space. So
Okay.
I'll start with that, Austin. How do I publish? What does it? What do I do? What do?
Well, if you've got one npm package, right?
Mhm.
Then the most basic way to do that is to just run npm publish, right?
Okay.
That's kind of what's outlined in the npm docs. Pretty straightforward, right? Um,
Yeah. Let me just do. Let's make this a bit bigger. Can you see that? All right, sure. So if we just do npm publish
well,
dash
not in
help.
a sorry, not in a mono repo. I may have
Sorry, what was
missed
that?
context. Not in a mono repo. I was just
Oh,
talking
okay.
about if you've got just kind of one package there, right?
Gotcha. Well, so
Um,
the example we have here, this is a mono repo, right?
yes,
But
this is. So if you've got a mono repo, then the most basic way to publish things will be to build all of your packages and like run npm publish on all of the build assets. But that gets tedious fast. You don't
yeah,
want to be
yeah,
doing a bunch of change directory operations, right?
right.
And so that's where Lerna can come in and help.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
let's stick on. So when we come to how to publish, it's kind of like there's a couple different paths we can take here, right?
yeah, yeah,
So the first path would be one package, right?
yep,
And then the second one would be I don't know, we could say n packages
yeah, yeah.
uh, in a repo.
Hmm.
That my my world for better typing skills. But
Hmm.
so pretty much what you're saying is one package. You probably want to go down the npm publish route. When I was coming over to VS Code here, the fact that we were in this workspace was immaterial. I was just trying to get like the manual here for just npm
Yes,
publish.
got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
But so it sounds like though the way you'd want to go, the way you do it is you'd use learn a publish here in a monorepo that has a bunch of packages, and that way we can kind of take the I guess that's probably just going to do npm publish, but n
Yeah.
times. Okay,
Let me explain how that works real quick. So,
sure.
um, Lerna, as previously mentioned, is a tool that helps manage monorepos, package-based monorepos. And so it's kind of designed to help with this exact problem. How do you do a lot of version and packaging operations on one repository? How can I run one command and do all of the publishing that I want to, right?
Yep.
So it's built on top of npm publish. What it's going to do is remember how I said that, well, the tedious way to do it and the most basic tedious way to do it would be to just go to every directory, build all of your apps, and then run
Yeah.
npm publish from each one. Well,
Like you
learn
were
a
talking about at the beginning, like you could easily do a
mhm.
bash script and you say, here's a list of all my packages.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You could script up something yourself to do that,
right.
but that's what Lerna will do for you. So Lerna can see all the packages you have. They're configured in the Lerna JSON or the package.json's workspaces
Hmm.
property. It knows all the packages in your repo, and so it will go to each one and perform that publish for you,
Okay.
keeping track of each one as it goes, and um, it'll even do more. We can talk to later about detecting which ones need to be published, but
Right.
it'll simplify that.
Okay. So this whole dimension of things, this is if we want to do it maybe at scale, would be
Hmm.
would be the
Yeah, that's
way
a
I
good way to put
might
it.
phrase it. But yeah, let's focus in on just like what it takes to just publish the one package to start with, and because I don't know, it's weird to figure out where to start talking about this piece. I feel like when I try to talk about it or try to teach about it, I always just start with like, well, do you know what's going on in your node modules directory, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. We have here. Um, this is a repo that you had sent me again. So this one's
Hmm.
set up for Lerna. So let's ignore the fact that we're using Lerna right now.
Hmm.
But it looks like you have a package lock. So I'm just going to run npmi.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yep.
this will come and download all of our dependencies.
Yeah.
Now, we'll notice when we did that, we've got the node modules directory here, right? And who knows what's going on in this mass of
Hmm.
stuff. Do you
Yeah.
want to explain what happened when I ran that command? Maybe Austin.
Yeah, sure. So when you're running npm install, what npm is doing is it's looking at your package JSON file and looking at the dependencies you've specified there. So maybe you could open that one for us, Zach.
Yeah, the
Um,
package JSON.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's looking at what our dependencies are for this workspace. In this case, at the root level, they're all dev dependencies because the root workspace itself isn't published. But
Right.
all of those dev dependencies, they're tools, they're npm packages out there that we want to use. And so npm downloads all of them into that node modules folder
Right.
and sets it up so that when we're running our scripts, running like doing our development tasks, it will use what's downloaded in there. Now, the reason there's a lot more of them in that node modules folder than the, I don't know, 8 or so listed in that dev dependencies field is because those packages have dependencies, right?
I love that
So,
I was able to anticipate where you were going with that.
yep, yep. Those packages have dependencies. And so, what you're really seeing in that node modules folder is all of the packages from npm
Yeah,
going
yeah,
all
yeah.
the way down into the dependency
It's
tree because they're all
it's almost like,
normalized.
yeah,
Um,
it's kind of like a, well, it's kind of like a tree. I don't know if is a data model still a tree if it like if leaves can refer to things higher up or elsewhere in the tree. um
Question.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I
Yeah.
don't remember either. It's been a while since I've been in college, but I guess
Yeah.
the
This
idea
is
is
more
like
more of
this
a
is just,
graph than.
yeah. Yeah, probably more of a graph with some
Hmm.
tree-like characteristics. Maybe is what you might call it. Because, yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, we'd go out and we'd get like everything at the top level directory, all the top level
Hmm.
dependencies, and then each one of these is going to have its own. And we just kind of recurse until all the bases are covered. Is my understanding at least. I've never looked too
Yeah. Yeah.
deeply into this, but yeah. That's kind of how I've built my mental model. And I think there's something going on with this package or with this repo too, because we have our base level package JSON, but we also have our packages. I believe
Hmm.
are these ones going to have their own dependencies. Yeah. So this one has its
Yep.
own dependency. And because we're using Lerna, as we can tell because we got the Lerna JSON file, what happened there with MPMI? That I'm imagining that went in and brought in the dependencies of all the packages here as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. It did. And that. So if you take a look at the package JSON again, there's,
Yes.
or I guess you had it there too. So this
Let me put them
workspace's
both side by
property.
side because I'm
Yeah.
always a
Yeah.
little curious about how these two things separate out.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with Lerna, if you've had a history with Lerna, you probably recognize the Lerna Bootstrap command. That is a command that was run that created a bunch of symlinks between packages in your project and uh, let them all play together so you could use your local dependencies that you're currently
Right. So
developing with.
could you
But that's
explain to
that's
people
not.
what a symlink is, too, real quick?
Yeah, so it creates a reference. So when you run a script in your npm scripts, let's say, and you want to use, I don't know, let's just say TypeScript, TSC. It's going to look for that package the
Hmm.
TypeScript package that's registered the TSC executable, it's going to look for it in the node modules. Now, if you have a symlink, if you have a link to somewhere else, instead of the code for that command actually being in node modules,
Hmm.
it's going to be a pointer to somewhere else on your machine,
Yeah.
right? So when that script runs and it calls the TSC executable, it's going to go find that link and then follow it to wherever else it may be on your machine, right?
Right.
So what Lerna did with the Bootstrap command is it would take all the dependencies of your inner projects and pretty much create a node modules folder inside of each of those package directories, right? And then link them to each other. And that's kind of how they would see that each other exists.
Right.
Now, the Bootstrap command is older. It's not the future for Lerna. So the package managers nowadays will do this automatically for you. And that's what we just observed. So in that npm install command, we have specified in our package JSON a workspaces property. It's called npm workspaces. Yarn has workspaces too. pnpm does as well. And the workspaces tells npm, hey, I've got packages that are nested in this code repository. So recursively go in there and look for all their dependencies and install them to node modules at the top level as well.
Right. Here, look,
Right.
I'm trying to catch up with our conversation so we can keep the board updated.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I'll
so
slow down. I'll slow
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah. Starting with the one package. So we got all the deps from the package JSON, and then we get the
Hmm.
deps from their uh, package JSONs, and then
Is this
uh,
for one package,
what's that?
or is this for one
Yeah, this
package
is just for
still?
the one package. And then we
Okay,
just
yeah, yeah.
recurse until all are covered, right?
Hmm.
And now let's take the same idea, but say like for n packages in like a mono repo. I think we do pretty much the same thing, right?
Hmm.
Oop, copy all of these, paste them here. But then there's another step if you're using a tool like Lerna here, where we're going to uh, interconnect our internal packages inside of the mono repo, right?
Yeah, well, actually, so if we could modify your first plus your first one there, get
Hmm.
deps from package JSON, I would say specifically get deps from root package JSON
I see.
first. Um, and then, regardless of whether you're using Lerna or not, this is just npm workspaces at work, right? So,
Right.
regardless of whether or not you're using Lerna, if you've got that workspaces property set in that package JSON, then npm will install the root, the root dependencies, and then it will look inside of those the glob paths that you've specified with that workspaces property and install dependencies of the individual packages,
Hmm.
and it will register the individual packages kind of locally so that they can reference each other, right?
Okay. And got it.
And that's
Oh,
that's what Learn a Bootstrap you would do, except now it's just kind of built into npm, and
right.
so
So this is like maybe an
yeah.
offshoot of this. So this would be like legacy, see, Lerna behavior, right? Oh, and this would be over here. So this is where you'd call Lerna Bootstrap.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was actually Lerna Bootstrap would actually be something like a two-step process where you'd have to call npm I. It's going to do all. Well, I guess it would do this
It
one,
would do the
this one,
install
this one.
for you.
It
I think
would.
you could just do Learn a Bootstrap if you call it with
Oh,
npx.
I see. So you wouldn't need
But
to call npm install. You could just call Lerna Bootstrap, and that would
I
take
believe
care of
so.
everything
I
else.
believe so.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, but obviously Learn a Bootstrap isn't really recommended going forward because npm and Yarn and pnpm workspaces they just work better. Like modern Lerna um, builds on top of them, utilizes that package manager functionality instead of implementing it itself.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So current learner behavior is kind of staying out of the dependency game. Is maybe how
Yes,
you want to think
yes.
of it.
Yep, and those commands still exist, but they are not the future of Lerna. We're not looking to add a lot of features to them or really expand on them at all. We're really focusing on other areas for Lerna's core value proposition.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, let's pop back to VS Code then. Um, so I guess do workspaces work differently depending on which package manager you're using as well?
Not really. They're the basics of here are all of my nested packages and
Hmm.
look for package JSON files in there. That pretty much stays the same.
Gotcha.
There might be a few nuances about how the install command interacts with them and flags on the install command,
Hmm.
but at a very basic level, it's about the same.
Cool. All right. Neat. So dependencies, including internal dependencies, so ways our different projects depend on each other inside the monorepo. That's kind of all handled at a package manager level, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So,
Yep. And over in Learn a JSON there, line 3, you can see use workspaces is true.
mhm,
That's what's telling that's the default for Lerna, and that's what's telling Lerna, hey, use the package manager's workspaces.
gotcha.
Build on top of that. Get that modern behavior that we were just talking about.
Right. So if we had said changed this to false, here we'd still want to call learn a bootstrap. Is that
Yes,
correct?
and it would
Okay.
it would result in a lot of nested node modules folders, um, multiple package lock files, one for each package, right?
Hmm.
Um, it would, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. So it seems so modern package managers have just solved this better. So yeah. All right, neat. Well yeah, interesting side quest there. But
Yeah,
uh
check that one. Check that one off.
yeah, we'll check that one off. But when it comes to oops, I think that's all helpful context for what's going on with publish because my understanding is like when we do the publish, that's just the other side of this whole process, right? Like when
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
publishing, like when we install, I guess these packages are coming from somewhere, and they're coming from the npm registry, which is kind of like a central repository for all our node packages. And the idea here is when we publish, we're essentially just taking some package or taking some collection of files, I guess, and sending them up to npm so it can add them to the registry. Is that is that pretty much right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening.
Cool. Cool. So, I guess one of the things that immediately comes to mind is just like how do we specify what to publish? Because we'll notice like if we look at our packages or our node modules, like I'm pretty sure that whatever project this is, I have no idea what amp
Hmm.
project slash remapping is or what it does, but uh, I'm pretty sure their code base doesn't look like this. I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does. Um,
Um, so by default, if you run npm publish in a directory,
mhm,
it's going to look for a package JSON in that directory,
right.
and it's going to pack and publish all the files in that directory along with it. It's
Okay.
basically considering your current directory as what you want to publish.
Okay. So you
Now
said
there,
pack and publish.
yeah. So the
Okay.
pack, it's going to pack all of those files into a tarball file,
Okay.
one thing that it can upload,
Oh, I
right?
see. Okay.
So if you've got 1,000 files, it's not going to upload them one by one. It's going to zip them up, pack them into a tarball file, and then send that to npm.
All right. So we're going to look at our package JSON. We're going
Hmm.
to zip up, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
all files, and then we're going to send to npm via like the npm API, I guess. Or
yeah,
we're really just
yeah.
using the
Yep,
command
yep.
line, but I guess at some network level, it's some requests to their API,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cool.
Now, there are ways your package JSON file specifies metadata of the package. That's where you specify the name, the version, its dependencies, an external website, like all that. If you go to the NPM registry website and you look at a package and you see all that data on the right talking about the package, like its contributors, its GitHub site, that's all specified in the package JSON.
Okay.
And the package JSON can also specify details about publishing, such as a different directory to publish instead of your current one,
Gotcha.
if you really want.
So the
Yeah.
metadata inside of our package JSON can inform uh, the set of files to publish, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, I believe so. And the yeah, there's a few ways to set that, but that's one way too. So
Yeah.
you can, like you pointed out, you can exclude certain files from publishing. You can pick a different directory altogether that is maybe where your built code base gets put to, right?
Hmm.
But by default, npm publish will just kind of pick what you've got in your directory.
Gotcha. Let's
So
take a look at the. Can we take a look at the package JSON for this example project? Is any of
yeah,
that stuff set? I guess not right
no,
now.
no. So for this example project, it's actually using a strategy where if you look inside the packages,
Hmm.
publish is just going to publish everything that's in that source with the exclusion of the things in the .npm ignore file.
Oh, I see.
So that just ignores the tests and the jest config. But
Gotcha.
for this package that we're looking at, it is publishing all the rest of the stuff in there,
Oh, I
right?
see.
Even the TS files that aren't really ran at runtime.
Right.
Um, so
Interesting. So, okay. Oh.
yeah, no, that's good. That's intentional.
Okay, cool. Got some emojis in there. That's fine.
There are. Yes.
All right. So, but I guess looking at the npm ignore. So I guess this is one strategy for figuring
Mhm.
out how to set things. So this is kind of like an ignore list. Is just saying,
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
do
it's like git
this.
ignore,
Yep.
except instead of for source control,
Hmm.
instead of determining what to ignore when checking into source control, it's determining what to ignore when zipping up your file for npm.
Gotcha. Cool. So what would be if I wanted to instead go with like rather than an ignore list, like an allow list? How would we do that? Do you know that
Uh,
off the top of your head? I feel like this might be something we'd have to Google.
yeah, let's take a look at the npm docs.
Okay.
I believe there's a. Uh, Let me look. I want to say it's contents. Yeah, let's look at. Yeah, so to see what will be included, here we go. I'm gonna send you a link, Zach.
Sure.
We can maybe look
Or
at together.
would you prefer to share your screen? We can do either way.
I'll just send this to you. So
Okay.
let's take a look at this doc. So that's the
Uh,
npm publish
oh, hang
documentation.
on. Where'd you send the link?
Oh, I sent it in StreamYard.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me grab it there. Ah, I see it. See, I told you I'd miss these.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
All right. Here we go. All right. I was close. I was in the right vicinity.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what piece are we looking at here?
So just scroll down just a little bit, and there's a files included in package section
Okay,
right
let me
there.
make that
Maybe.
bigger for folks too.
Yeah, yeah. So this gives a summary of what'll be included, and it looks like there's a command we can run to see what will be there.
Oh,
Um,
neat.
we can try that in a minute, but
Oh, is this? Well, this is just like a npm project, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm curious now.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that.
Yep. Yep.
I guess that's the kind of downloads you get when you're mentioned in the ducks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. So that'll tell us what will be in our package before we actually run it. Um, Certain files are relevant to package installation. For example, package. Yep, yep, yep.
Hmm.
There's a files list. Okay. Only the files specified would be included. So this sounds like our allow list right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. If there's a, okay, so git ignore then ignores files in all child directories will be excluded from the package.
Yes, that's
So
what our example was using.
gotcha. So it's not just the npm ignore list. Actually, it's also the git ignore. So
Yeah, yeah.
anything in dist we're going to ignore too. Is that right?
Mm, no.
That can't be
Well,
right. Right? Is
that,
it? How
no,
does that
because
work?
what goes in dist? That's a good question.
I wonder.
Because
I wonder if there is an npm ignore if it will ignore the git ignore.
yeah, yeah, that second sentence right there. If both files exist, then
Oh,
get ignore
okay.
is ignored.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Duh.
I was like, if it worked like that, then that package wouldn't work, and I'm confident it does. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not
uh,
right. Okay, and
yeah,
it's
there we
same
go.
patterns as the get ignored. Okay, so it's the same
Hmm.
exact thing. Nice to know. This makes me feel much better. I guess this is kind of specifically for sort of legacy. In a world where you're just publishing straight to npm, you're like the actual JavaScript files that you're writing.
Hmm.
I imagine Git ignores all you need. But as soon as you get into a world where you're leaning on Babel or you're leaning on, you know, TypeScript, obviously,
Hmm.
you're
Yeah.
going to want to have files that are Git ignored that you actually do want to publish. So that makes perfect sense.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so what's this full point? If the file matches certain patterns, they will never be included unless explicitly added to the files list in the package or unignored with a bang rule in there. Oh, okay. I
That's
don't know what
interesting.
these certain patterns are, but
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like node modules or something.
yeah. And then sim links are never included. That makes sense, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. So this is npm publish. This is what we were kind of talking about before. If you were just to run this directly.
Cool.
Hmm.
That's neat. Why is it like this? I'm curious now. If I did is this just a package as well that's just bundled into the npm CLI?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is
Oh.
what when you run npm space publish, it's running this.
Wait, is it? Maybe
Uh,
not. Maybe this is just a random
ooh,
one.
is this the wrong one?
I don't know.
It's on the npm docs.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you look at that docs page, this is the official npm
Yeah.
um, page.
I wonder if they just did npm dash publish, even though it's. Do they do that with all of these?
Yeah, yeah,
npm query. Is this the same? The author. This is some random dude. I think.
yeah.
Yeah, last
Published
published
9
nine
years
years ago.
ago.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think
they
this is
might
it.
just not list. They might just not list those
Yeah.
as separate packages on npm. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah, it might be this internal stuff. Okay, makes sense. All right. But okay, so now we've kind of figured out as another side quest we can maybe cross off.
Yeah, there you go.
We've
Checking
got
them
we know
off.
how to specify what to publish now. Um, what about this is well, okay, maybe let's pull a little bit further down the end packages in a repo piece
Yeah, yeah,
because now we can, I guess, so we have like this metadata that can inform the set of files to publish. So this will just be, oops, we just say like this will be the files in package JSON. I keep misspelling packages the same way. Um, or dot npm ignore. I guess it's kind of and npm ignore. No,
yeah,
I guess it's or.
yeah.
I don't know.
You might not need both of them, but
Yeah, might not need both of them. I'll leave it at or here.
yeah. And the metadata can be all kinds of other things too. I'm sure we'll show it later when we're looking at package JSON files.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the metadata inside the package JSON file, you mean?
Yeah, like a description, the author, the
Oh yeah.
license, all that type of good stuff.
Well, all those like all the other metadata here. I guess this also uh other metadata. It's really just there to help inform the registry, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the users when picking packages. Like if I'm looking for a package, but my software is going to be released under a certain license and I need to have all my dependencies be compatible with that license, then
Right.
it's good information to look at when you're shopping around for dependencies, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like isn't there like a types directory here too? Types.
Yeah, I think there can be.
So this is where you would
If you
say,
take a look at uh, take a look at one of the packages package JSON files,
mhm.
not the root. The
Let's
root is very bare bones,
yeah, let me undo all
but
the changes I put in here before we leave.
yeah, the packages package JSON files have a lot more of I think what you're looking for.
Okay.
Like it's got a main, which specifies the entry point, um,
Okay.
right? And you'll see that's in dist because it's a JS file that's built,
Yes.
or yeah, and then types. That's what you were talking about.
Right, right, right. So maybe this brings up another interesting piece, which is if we look at things right now, there is no dist, right?
Yes, there is no dist. It's good.
So
Good observation.
how is this? Thanks,
yeah,
thanks, Austin. Uh,
yeah.
how is this project set up to make a dist?
Yeah, so you'll see there's a build script specified in this package JSON file that runs TSC. Now, this is a really
Okay.
simple package, but the source is written in TypeScript in the lib folder.
Yeah, let me pull up the ts config because when you run tsc, your ts config is going to be what informs how
Hmm.
tsc is going to run, right?
Yes, yes.
I actually don't like how they I don't know. I kind of do, I kind of don't. How they just comment out all the lines because it makes it hard to see what you're actually doing. But I guess it shows you all
Yeah.
the options you could use. But let's see. Outer. Okay, so we're telling TypeScript when you write out, put it over here. Anything else here interesting?
I mean the source at the very top where it's looking at, right? So
Okay,
include in the library.
gotcha. So as soon as you bring TypeScript into it, there's kind of like a connecting of systems here, where we're
Mhm.
saying TypeScript's going to just put out to dist, and then we're going to say at the package JSON level, for example, types go here, right? We also got to kind of know, I guess we got to kind of know that this is going to put out an index.js and an index.dts as part of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
TSC. So,
So the TypeScript will create a .d.ts and a like .js file for each of
mhm.
the things that it finds. We'll see that when we run build.
Yeah. Something interesting that I've seen working with some of the more, some open source projects recently is like, oh, I mentioned this to you off stream, but TSC is used more as just a linter, right? Uh, so it's actually not writing out the JS files. It's actually just writing out. I guess it will write out the DTS files, but its main function is just to make sure there's no errors, no type errors inside of your TypeScript files, right? Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think which. It's going to be one of these properties, right? That's going to turn off, like actually writing the JavaScript files. I don't know which one it is though.
Um,
Just looking to see if
I
there's
think
one that stands out.
it's like no emit or something like that.
Find
I'm not
no
sure.
emit.
I think that might be it.
All right, let's can we try it? If we
Yeah, we
do
could try
this,
it.
let's
We could
let's
try it.
just do. I
So
guess.
do Lerna run build?
How do I have Lerna just run build for a specific package though? It's like some command, right? Is it filter
Yeah, do dash dash scope
dash dash scope
and then the name of the
equals
package. So it'll be
emoji math, right?
you might need the actual scope. So phasal AJ slash at fazelaj slash.
Oh, like
Yeah.
this, the name
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Package name.
Okay. So now we can get rid of this. When you use it with just PM workspaces, there is, I think you actually specify like a package by using like dash filter, and then you actually give it the like the path to it, like via the file
Yeah. No.
system. So
Yep.
interesting.
Yep. Yeah. No. Learn is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um,
Reaching out, Bruno's saying in this case, TSC is not used in the build. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. This is something I've noticed, Bruno, with a bunch of projects, is just that a lot of people are using like TS up to build their JavaScript, and TSC is used. I mean, I guess it generates the DTS files, but it's really just there to like almost be like a lint step. So we're going to try this, and we're going to see. Uh-oh. Learn. Do I
uh,
have to do npx Lerna?
yeah. If you don't have Lerna
I guess I
installed
don't have
globally.
Lerna globally installed. So we're going to see what this did. So we successfully ran the build target. So if we look at our directory here, oh yeah, look, no dist at
No
all. So I
dist.
guess
Yep.
init didn't write the DTS files either here. I wonder if TSUp would do that too. Interesting. But let's turn off no emit now.
hmm
Hit the save, and we'll run the same command. And there we go. Dist
Yep.
directory.
And so, for those of you who may have not used Lerna a whole lot before,
Mm-hmm.
the Lerna run command will run the specified NPM script in all of the packages by default. And since we only wanted to run it for one of them, we filtered it by adding a scope. We essentially said, use Lerna run build for that specific package.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And
we
the scope you pass it is just determined by the name property here in package.json.
yes,
So the same
yes.
name, I guess, like when we're talking about metadata, this name is actually the name that you would write when you would run like npm add, like this is what you do. This is the identifier you'd find things on the registry with.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and Lerna uses the package name as an identifier for all kinds of things. If
mhm.
you ever have to specify a package name or a glob to match against package names for Lerna, then it's going to be based off of that name in
Right.
package.json.
There's maybe some interesting side quests we can go inside of this one too, because this is a thing, right?
Yeah, NPM Scope.
Yeah,
Yep.
an NPM scope. So when you use at with some name like this, I this looks like your name, Austin.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So
That's
so
my
you own this scope, so no
I
one else
do.
can publish
I
to this
do.
scope. Is really what this
Yes.
is saying, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. And I think there's like an extra level of complexity that can be added with that. Like it's just as valid to do like this. Like you can publish a package without a scope, but by adding the scope, you can I guess signal some ownership of this. Like if we can
Yeah,
see
so
if we look at
it's
our node modules, there's a lot of them have this. So
Yeah, so there's a few things that it does. You can set up like security rules, like you can have an organization with NPM to where only certain people can publish to that scope,
right.
right? Like I could give you, Zach, I could give you access to publish to that scope, even though
Can I have
it has
access,
my,
Austin?
I don't know how to set that up right away, but
Okay.
maybe.
All right.
Um,
That's for next stream.
next time, yeah. But yes, so the you can control access that way.
Hmm.
And it's also just a really good visual representation of which packages come from kind of the same source and are managed by the same people or organization.
Right.
And then the other thing it does is it allows you to have a package with a not so unique name, right? So if you don't have that scope there, then you've got
Yeah.
to make sure whatever name you pick, it's pretty unique, right? It's
Right.
that there's not another one out there floating around in the registry,
Yeah.
right?
So in
We
addition
don't.
to the security stuff, it's also just name spacing your
Yeah,
package.
yeah,
So there's no collision. That makes
yep.
sense.
Yeah,
Cool.
and that's personally why like a lot of my test packages I'll use that scope for,
Mhm.
because then I don't have to go out of my way to make a really unique name, you know. So that
Yeah.
because when I'm just publishing test packages, I don't necessarily need a lot of the organizational access controls that are offered, right?
Right.
So,
So I'm pulling up your package on the registry here too.
mhm.
I guess we're maybe skipping a step, maybe, but we've published the. I mean, here's the dist directory, and because we're kind of connecting all the dots here, but with package.json, we're saying here's the main, here's the types. Is there a files?
No. So,
Oh yeah, that's
um,
right. You mentioned you're using the npm ignore rather than the
yeah.
files.
So thinking back to that npm publish docs, it's going to include all the files in this directory with a little asterisk. It auto includes a few,
So
as we saw, but
so
um,
your lints, your ESLint CJS is in there too.
it might be in there. Yeah,
And
and that's
you wouldn't need this, right? If you're anyone else, I don't
nope.
think.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Let's take a peek.
Oh,
Can you see it in there? Is it in the code?
where do I look? So there's the
Code.
dependencies code. Oh
Click
yeah.
code. Let's see. Yeah, it's
Yep,
in
there
there.
it
So
is.
we
Oh,
could even try. Yeah.
I'm
So
so
this is
ashamed
something
right
that could
now,
be.
Austin. I'm
Oh,
so ashamed.
disappointed in me. I'm sharing my linting preferences
Ah,
publicly.
no one wants to know about this. No one wants to know
Uh,
about your lint rules, Austin.
embarrassing. Yeah, yeah.
This is why you use the files. So okay,
Yep, yep.
do we want to make this change right now? Like, do we want to add a files in here so we don't need the git npm ignore, or do we
We could
want to
try
fix
it.
it but still use the npm ignore? This is your package, Austin.
Well, let's we could try it with files.
All right, let's do that. So I guess we could put it anywhere, but it probably makes sense to put it right by main and types. I'm going to put it just
Hmm.
above them. And this is life changing right now, right? Is that it? Oh,
Files.
expected
It takes
array.
an array. Yes, yes.
Is dist going to be enough, or do I need to do like dist star 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 something like that? Actually, don't know.
That's a good question. So let's why don't you leave it as dist and let's try and use that npx or npm pack list function that we saw in the
Oh
docs
yeah,
to see what it's going to pick up.
excellent idea, my friend. Let's
Yeah,
clear, and we'll do npx npm. It was pack list.
I think so. Uh, yeah. So
Oh, but this did
we're
it
in
at
we're
the
in the
root
root.
level. Do we want
Yeah.
to just cd into this one?
Yeah. Yeah. We could do that.
Slash emoji math. Here
Hmm.
you can run pack list. All right, that looks more reasonable. Oh, maybe. No, it did everything still.
It did everything still. That's interesting.
Wait, no, it didn't. I lied. It's just from here.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because of the
yeah. I
clearing.
just got confused.
Okay.
Sorry, let's add some spaces there. Now we can see. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
There.
So that's got all the JS files, all the .d.ts files, and then the README and the package JSON.
Okay, so that's interesting. The package JSON. I actually almost half expected to see a package JSON inside of your dist directory. Um, that was maybe like a subset of the package JSON that we've seen here. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, you can
trying
do
to
that.
think.
Some tools will copy over package
Yeah,
JSONs and with like
like I think.
modified properties.
Yeah, like
Um,
inside of your
but
dependencies, scripts don't really matter. For example, right?
well, some post install scripts will be run,
Oh, that's true.
right?
That's very true.
So some of them are relevant, but the ones we have there aren't. You're right.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, that makes
yeah,
sense.
so
All right.
that's possible.
But so we're still using the package JSON, we're still using the README, but then everything else aside from those is just coming from the disk because we had set our files.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. I like it.
You
Uh,
want to commit it and make a pull request?
maybe what's going on here? Let's undo that change. I think it's just formatting, but I'm too I don't know what's the right term. Uh, had a bad experience with PR reviews where it's like, why'd you change this? Right. So we'll just do that.
Yeah, there's so many different opinions on pull requests.
All right. So I'll go ahead. Do I cut a new branch for this?
Yeah.
Probably should.
Do you? Yes. Yeah.
I use a weird combination of the UI and the command line, but let's
Yeah.
call it Zach live stream, I guess. And now we'll get commit, adding files. Actually, before I do that, do we want to get rid of npm ignore? Because it's not doing anything now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and do that.
Let's delete that. Move to trash. Now I'm going to want to do git add to make sure we catch the deleted file. Git command. We'll just say changing files in published package. It's not going to like this, though. This is like another side quest we had talked about, right? Which is conventional commits. And I happened to notice this when we were looking at before in your learn a JSON. You do have conventional commits true. Can we maybe talk about this a little bit? Because there's interesting things that happen here too, right?
Yeah. So conventional commits. That's a standard. It's also a tool, but it's a standard for commit messages where you embed some metadata about your change in the commit message. Yeah, maybe you can bring up the site for us to look at.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we can gather from this. And if you're really involved in like open source projects, you've probably seen this before. Can you zoom in a little bit, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. So you prefix the commit with something like fix or feat, or there's a lot of other ones like chore or docs or something else. And that, as well as just looking at the commit history and being able to tell what the nature of the change is, it also implies a certain severity and certain level of impactfulness to the package or the repo that you're working on.
See, this piece of things I don't think I fully realized until you had mentioned it to me. Like I knew, like, okay, you gotta do this. Gotta do feat or fix, and in the NX repo, we actually have a Husky rule that will prevent us from like pushing with a bad commit message, which I always hate because we just squash and merge when we merge a pull request anyways. So it's like I don't know, it's a whole thing, but
I'll just mention real quick. So it's all kind of based on the idea of semantic versioning.
Okay.
Right. So you've got your major version, your minor version.
This convention dovetails with semver.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got your major version, your minor version, and your patch version.
Okay.
And the basic idea is that if you change a package in a way that shouldn't really impact anyone, except for maybe it like fixes a bug, right? It doesn't fundamentally change the functionality, then that can be a patch version. So that's the very far, I guess, least significant digit if we want to get sciencey with it. But the far
that's
right.
That's not what significant digits are, Austin.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true.
That's different. At least if my high school physics class.
Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, the digit on the far right. So that's our patch number. And that only increments with non-breaking changes. Then the minor version is the one in the middle. Is when you add functionality. So you add new features, right? But it's fundamentally backwards compatible. Like your new features don't really break previous features.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to line these things up, right? So fix over here goes to patch. Feature over here goes to minor, and breaking change. So
we'll get to that in a second. So the
I'm so confused. Oh, but the idea is breaking change. You update your major version.
Yes. So the number far left, that's the major version. If that number changes, then there are breaking changes.
Gotcha.
Right. Like you've really got to pay attention if you're updating one of your dependencies from like and the major version number changes. You should probably be looking at the change log and the docs for that package because something's not going to work the way you expected it to from before, right? And so conventional commits allows you to specify this metadata in your commit messages.
Gotcha.
So if I have a number of changes to a package and
Hmm.
I've got two fixes and a feature,
Hmm.
right, that I've added, then when releasing the next version of the package with that code, I'm going to want to bump the minor version,
Right.
right,
So it's
because of
like
the
take the
feature.
most impactful of the set of changes that you have.
Yes, yes, yes.
Got it.
Likewise, if I have a bunch of fixes
Hmm.
and then one breaking change, it's probably going to have to be a major version
Still going
if
to
you're
be a major
following this
version.
strictly.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the only way it's a patch version if it's just all fixes, right?
Yep, if it's all fixes, or there's some other categories you can have, like in that 4 bullet point. So
Yeah,
sometimes there can be
chores one
different
I see a
prefixes.
lot, right?
Yeah,
In CI.
chore, docs, style, those are all kind of things that are more related to the maintenance of the code than what it actually does. And so a lot of times those all just correlate to a patch as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to see if there's a way to set some of these. I don't know. It seems like all of these would just be patch uh
Yeah, I think they
at the patch
usually
level.
would.
So,
Yeah. One
cool.
thing to note is that with that third bullet point there for breaking change,
Yes.
you can put an exclamation point at the end of any of those prefixes, right?
Oh, I see.
The idea is that you can add a feature or you can do a refactor or you can even have a fix that fundamentally changes how things work to the
I
point that
see.
it can't be backwards compatible.
Gotcha.
And so, like, if you scroll down to the examples, it'll show you some of those.
Yeah, well,
Um,
just
you
so
know,
so the other thing I often see, like whenever I write a commit message, I always stay with a single line
mhm.
thing, right? But you could always, I forget what it is, but you could open like Vim or whatever is part of the Git CLI. So like write out a full thing with a top level, and then you'd have a body, and then you'd have footers optionally.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
seems like adding breaking chains to the footer is the other way to do it. But
yeah,
any
yeah,
sane person is just going to use a CLI or just do a single level. So you just
yeah,
add the
yeah.
bang. Would it just be a bang at the end? Oh no,
At
it
the
would
end
have to
of the
go right here,
prefix.
right before the colon, right?
Yeah, yeah. It'll there's some examples
Oh yeah,
I
let's look
think
at the
on there
examples. Sorry.
if you scroll down. Yeah, so
Okay,
there.
breaking change. So this would incur a major, right?
Yep.
Same thing here. Oh, and I guess the scope is optional. So I'm always used to
Scope is
seeing the scope
optional.
in there.
Yeah. Hmm.
I feel
A
like
lot
in
of
NX
places
the scope
will.
isn't optional, just the way we
Yeah,
have things
it's.
set up with our automation. But
I don't think it is. I think you're right. But it is technically optional.
mhm.
I've worked in code bases where they don't require it
Right,
because sometimes you'll just have weird out there changes that don't align nicely in a scope, and it's not worth setting one up just for that. Um,
right. And for scopes, I know there's a way that we do it in NX where we set a list of scopes.
mhm.
Um, is that part of the standard too, where you have a way to list out the different scopes that you have available?
There is. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly how to
Is it in
specify
here
more.
somewhere? I'm trying to think.
Uh,
Let me just find scopes. Scope. Uh, Optional scope may be provided after a type. I like that it must be a noun. That's interesting.
yeah, so I think that the scope, whatever you enter, will be valid.
Hmm.
It just, because the scope is what's in parentheses, right?
Hmm.
And so I think you can put pretty much whatever you want in there. I think if you want to specify other prefixes, that might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. That's where this comes into place, right?
Yeah,
The
yes,
config
yes.
conventional. Yeah, so I guess there's ways of like enforcing that. Like I said with NX, we use the Husky rule to make sure before we allow you to push, we just check all your commit messages that you're about to push and make sure that the types matches our list of accepted types and our scope. I guess we make sure our scope is present because we're fundamentally a monorepo. I guess scopes really come in handy for that,
Yep.
and that the scope matches our expected list of scopes as well. So
Yes. Yep.
cool. So provided, I guess, popping off the stack that we've got down this side project, what do I call my commit message? Is a fix, I would assume?
This would probably be
Maybe
like
a build? That was like one
I,
of
I
the.
would say like chore maybe.
Okay,
If we
let's call it
I
chore.
think chore is probably the best, and it might not show up in our change log. So the
Really, what
uh,
I learned from all this is as long as it's not feet, it doesn't matter. Right?
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of yeah.
Cool.
um, the
That's how
so
I'm
in this
categorizing this new lesson learned, Austin.
yeah
This is cool.
so in this learn.json file,
Mhm.
you notice there it is the version command is set to use conventional commits, and it's going to generate a change log. So if you open the change
Okay.
log for one of our packages, you see that changelog.md file. Not
Changelog.md
in the
file.
top level. Go to the one in a
Oh yeah,
package,
yeah. Inside of our
and then
package.
yeah. So
Oh.
you can look at it from the markdown perspective. If you click the little thing in VS Code
I
to the
never
right of
liked
your
doing
tab.
that, dude.
You don't like doing that?
I don't.
Oh no,
This
I
thing.
love
Ugh.
this.
Ugh.
It
I
looks
just
great.
let me
That's
have
what it's gonna
this.
look like.
My brain can figure this out from this, dude.
Oh wow, your brain's
But
faster than mine. But
maybe that was saying it wrong. It's not that my brain can figure this out from this, but it's my brain is used to this and isn't used to this and doesn't like
yeah,
the way these things are tied.
got it. Anyway, you
I'll
can
leave it
close
up
it.
for
But
you, Austin. You're the
thank
guest
you.
here.
Yeah, but all of this is generated from those conventional commits. So you saw in
Gotcha.
version 1.2.0, a new feature was added. It supports factorials with the
Earlier
heavy exclamation
today,
point.
you,
Yes.
you live dangerously, Austin.
Yeah.
Publishing it right before our live stream.
Oh, of course.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so that was all auto-generated. None of this
Right.
file was manually added, and that's powered by those conventional commits.
Right.
And it showed up in the features subheader because mine had a feat prefix,
Right. Okay.
right? Now, since we added one with chore, I don't know if it'll actually pick up chore and put it on there. I don't know if those are added by default.
Did I hit
Um,
enter? No, I still have it. Should I add fix or you want to just stick with
yeah.
chore?
You could say fix. It'll
Okay.
probably show up in the changelog if you do fix.
Okay. Let's do that fix. Because it is kind of a fix. Kind of a
Yeah.
weird level of a fix, but yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Continue.
No, that's it. So
Okay.
you've committed. Do you have a branch?
I do have a branch. I have committed. I did want to poke at something here real quick though,
Mm-hmm.
which was like we were talking about semantic versioning. We're talking about our commit messages, and so we're showing how we're kind of driving our versioning as it's just like it's a side effect of what our commits actually look like at this point because of the way we're using Lerna, the way we've set up the I guess check out inside the Lerna JSON.
Mm-hmm.
We're parameterizing the version command, the Lerna version command with these, right?
Yep. Yes.
So our version here, and we can see it here too, is just a function of the commits we've happened to run based on like the level of each commit. But here in the Lerna JSON, we have a version number. And then if we look at the package JSON for any one of these packages, notice there's a version number there too. And I imagine, well, the learner must be doing something to keep those in sync. I imagine just part of the learner version command, right?
Yeah. So the version that really matters is the one that's in that package JSON you're looking at now,
Yeah. I
because
guess
at the end of the,
this is just to mark at the works at the repo level, like what version we're on. But
yeah.
like you
So
said, this is
this
the one that's going to go out. Like when we did the pack list, the package JSON is what gets sent over. Learn JSON, NPM doesn't know about that at all, right?
yeah. So one thing that Lerna will do is by default it has its fixed versioning mode,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it will version all of your packages together. So whenever you want to release a new version of a package, it's going to bump it up to whatever the workspace version, for a lack of a better term, is. Whatever the version here in learner.json is, 1.2.0, right?
Gotcha.
So when we eventually release a new version with the fix that you've just created, it'll
Hmm.
probably be a patch. So it'll be 1.2.1 and
Yep.
we'll release version 1.2.1. Now you don't have to manually create that or manually change that because the version command will do that.
Right.
Learner will handle that.
But
And
if we
then
were just doing this by ourselves, we don't. There is, because there is like, let me clear
there's
this out. There is an NPM version here too, right?
yes, yeah, there
That's a
is.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that'll do essentially what learn a version will do for all your packages. NPM version will do for one.
Hmm.
That's not exactly true because Lerna adds a lot of other functionality on top of it as well. But
Right.
like there's all kinds of other options you can use with Lerna version. But if you were just had a repo with one package and you were just versioning and publishing that one, then NPM version would do exactly what you need.
Gotcha. I
Hmm.
like that there's an alias here for Virison.
Yeah, there's one for install that I hit all the time also.
Oh yeah.
ISNTALL.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like this is someone's anticipating my bad typing right here.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, okay, neat stuff. So yeah, we don't have to use this. We could just like
Yeah.
manually do it, and as long
Yeah.
as we say like, as long as we don't do something like, I think this would like break, right?
It's got to
Um,
be a valid version according
yeah,
to semantic versioning and
yeah, and I
what
think
NPM will accept.
does it explain in here like the if you do a dash to do some sort of like an alpha or a beta or an RC or anything like that?
Uh, Probably somewhere.
I'm looking for it. I
There.
don't see it.
There was a few. Yeah.
What the heck
So
is this? Bacchus Noir form grabber.
yeah.
uh,
Wait. Right above that. Right above that. There's a few examples. So
okay.
example, right. So you can have a dash alpha, dash beta, something like
Hmm.
that, right? And then do a dot something else on the end. That's
Okay.
valid. But what you're looking at right there, that's like the really rigorous specification of exactly what it is with like
Right.
detailed math terms and everything.
Gotcha.
Um,
The way I
so
see it, it's always just like A dot B dot C and then optionally dash whatever, right?
yes, and
Like
the
this would
dash
still be
whatever can
valid.
have a dot zero on the end, right?
Oh, like that?
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah. So you can have a pre-release version. So because if you think about it, usually that whatever is like alpha or
Hmm.
beta or something, right? So
Okay.
if you have the version 1.2.1 dash alpha dot zero,
Hmm.
that is communicating that I am working on version 1.2.1 and I'm publishing this as an early preview of it for a
Right.
variety of reasons, for testing or for whatever. And so what that specification actually showed is that that is a lower version than 1.2.1,
Yeah, I guess that was in the
technically.
precedence piece right here, right?
Yes, yes. So any pre-release version comes before what its version would be without the extra identifiers.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that it's a pre-release because you're doing it beforehand, right?
Right.
So 1.0.0 dash alpha comes before 1.0.0.
Oh, and that's why you use alpha because where was it? I guess so alpha always comes before beta, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
RC, I guess they're just like RC is big enough. What about canary? That's another one I see often. Is like dash canary something.
Yeah,
Um
so
I guess this is all just convention at this point, right? Because it could
yeah,
really just
so
be whatever.
a canary um, release, it's a strategy. I would say that refers to more of like a continuous deployment strategy,
Hmm.
right? The word canary doesn't mean quite as much compared to what you add onto the end of it, which is usually in a canary strategy, you've got some sort of hash added on
Oh,
in
okay.
there in your version.
What
And the
I often
idea,
see, Austin, just so you know,
mhm.
is I see like this. I actually see this, where you
Oh,
see
really?
Canaria in the name of the version.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It'll be there. But
okay,
usually with the canary releases, it's for every commit.
I
right?
see.
So instead of saying I'm going to intentionally make a alpha version,
Okay.
and I'm still saying right now, as of this commit, I want to make an alpha. A lot of times the canary deployments will be automatically for every single commit, just make a canary release,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
Regardless of everything else, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes
So,
makes sense. So you're saying canary, I actually, the context in which I've seen it is like it was a purposeful thing to cut a canary release.
really? Okay.
Yeah. But I guess like if you're doing something like how Vercel does where like every commit it puts out like a preview kind of deal. I guess with that, those are kind of like canaries builds, I would assume. Like if you're gonna
Yeah.
version
Okay.
those.
Interesting. Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks like what I've seen it is kind of a subset of it. Doing a quick Google on the side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A deployment strategy where changes are initially released to a small subset of users.
Right, right. So I've
So,
always seen
yeah.
that as a manual step to say, hey,
Okay.
we'll cut a canary. But I guess there's nothing stopping you from automating it so it happens every like PR you do even.
Yeah, yeah. So Lerna, in the context of Lerna, it uses its canary releases are like every commit essentially.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, cool. Let me set this back to what it had been. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess to pop off the stack, you could use Lerna. You can use npm version if you just had a single one. You can use Lerna version, and that's going to like it's the same as what we had seen in our thing here before. I guess we could do like the same thing. Just copy this and like boom over here. Move it over here a little bit. And like if this was like how to version, it would be one package npm version, and
Hmm.
then n packages in a mono repo. There'd be npm or Lerna version,
Yep.
and for each of these, like you would run the command Lerna version, but then you'd also have like either patch or yeah, like patch release or minor or major. So
Yep.
both of these take the same options, or you could even do a specific version here too, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you can also specify a pre-release, kind of like what we were talking about with alpha or beta or something. So you can specify like pre-patch, pre-minor, pre-major, or just pre-release.
Oh, okay. So like you
So
could,
there's a number of different things you can do. Um, yeah. Or
gotcha.
with Learn a version specifically, if you've got conventional commits set up, you can omit that argument and let it suggest something for you based on the conventional commits. So, kind of as we were saying earlier, since you added a fix, then it'll look at that, look at the past commits, run it through conventional commit specification, and say, yep, looks like it's a patch.
Yeah. So I guess in that scenario, if I were to grab both of these, it's almost like you can also just use the conventional commit strategy, and it's still going to do this. It's just going to manage it for you, right?
Yes,
Based on your
yes.
commits.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you're running learn a version manually, it'll still ask you for confirmation. Like it'll say, yeah, looks like this should be a minor. Do you agree?
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha. All right. So I think like I feel like a lot of the puzzle pieces are coming together at
Hmm.
this point. It's like an interesting web where there's so many different interesting dimensions of this. Figure
Yeah,
out
yeah.
it should be
And we,
straightforward. Like here's
yeah,
my
and
packages, go do it, npm.
yeah.
But
And we
it's,
haven't even gotten to GitHub Actions yet.
I know that
Yeah,
was the whole point, right? That's what we
yeah.
promised to the people. We'll get to that though, because I think like the way my mental model works, at least, it's like okay, once we know how to publish and once we know how to do all these things, the automation is an additional step we can do on top of
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at like all of our side quests we had talked about.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else here. I guess one thing was like the conventional commit strategy. Like we had looked at all this. So this is the conventional commits.
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
are tools though that will help you uh, follow this convention, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are some.
Like I know in
I think you had
NX we
mentioned a
use
couple earlier.
Husky, but that's not a proactive one. That's kind of like a reactive way of doing it, where we actually just run a script to make sure the commit message is valid. We don't actually help you form it, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I think Comitizen is one of them.
let me look it up.
Um,
Commit to Zen like that.
yeah, like that. Yep.
Let me
And
make
I believe
this
if you
full
go
screen.
down, it'll show kind of what it looks like. Scroll down.
Using the
Yeah.
command line tool npxcz.
Yeah.
What is ng poopy?
I guess
What in
that's
the
their
world?
example.
Why would they use that as an example? Wait.
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Um,
But it gives you like an interactive prompt where you can choose the type of change. Then, oh, I guess that's really what you need, right?
yeah, yeah. So it'll prompt you for that. I think it can prompt you for a scope also. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that. I haven't used it in a while, but um, so all of those pieces that you have to get right for that conventional commits,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can essentially have a little walkthrough, like a tool help you go through and ask you, okay, what's your prefix going to be, what's your scope going to be, and then finally, what do you want your message to be, and then it puts it together into a commit message that is valid, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised by the number of stars here. This is more than I expected. Let me check
Yeah.
their. I want to check their installs real quick, because yeah, this is interesting. So this was commit to Zen. What,
I think it was just
CZCLI?
CZ, CLI. No commitison in the front, I believe. I think it was
Is
just
that
that
it?
one. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
No. Uh,
Is this right? I feel like this might be a random one. What?
yeah, I'm not sure. We might have to look back at their GitHub. But
Oh, interesting. Where does it have?
oh, it's just
It's
commitison.
just
Okay.
we went the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, the command is CZ,
Yeah, I know.
right?
It's
Kind of
very
like the
confusing.
whole, what is it, TypeScript versus TSC. You don't want to install TSC. You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
install
exactly.
TypeScript. That one
We
gets
I think
me.
we hit that in our last live stream, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Okay, well there we are. Yeah, they're doing pretty solid on
Hmm.
downloads. It's not growing all that fast, but yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
solid
guess
number.
with that, there's not going to be a whole lot of CI usage downloading it, right?
Right. Yeah, this is a human centric tool.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless
Yep.
AI, we could get ChatGPT in here using Comitizen. Might as well, I
Yeah.
guess. All right. Let's pop off that stack. Because I think we completed that side quest.
Hmm.
Um, I think I don't know. I guess we want to go into now just like running the publish, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah. So let's
do you
uh,
want to
uh,
share
w-
your screen? Because I can't publish to your namespace right now. Because like you said.
you. So if we want,
Mhm.
I've added you as a collaborator on my repo. You could make the pull request,
Oh, I
and I could
can.
merge it, and then we can do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do like that. So we'll role play here, where
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I'm the contributor and you're the maintainer. So
yeah.
I've already
You might have to accept the invite to be a collaborator on GitHub.
okay.
But
Let me push up first. Or wait, do I even have a remote? Get remote v. Yeah, I never forked this, so I guess I'd just go
yeah,
right to yours. Let
but
me see if
that's
I can
fine.
just push.
Yeah, try it, try it.
Push origin Zach live stream. There we go.
Yeah, so I think you have to accept being a collaborator.
Yeah.
But once you do that, view invitation. There you go.
View invite. I guess I'll accept.
Hmm.
Just
I don't let just anyone in as a collaborator on these test repos,
I feel
Zach.
so special. Okay, so I've pushed now. So
Yep,
at this
yep.
point, uh, my branch is up. We can see my branch. I'll
Yeah.
just be like,
Hmm.
uh, Austin, you left your ESLint config in the build. I'll just put
Oh,
that's embarrassing.
yeah, yeah.
throwing shade. I'm so rude in these things.
It's okay. It's okay. Good.
I trust you
Yeah.
know my heart, Austin.
Oh yes, I do. I do. Okay, so
Oh wait,
let's
wait,
look
wait.
down.
So something happened here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So this repo
mm,
has some CI steps configured, CI jobs in GitHub Actions already. And
right.
even though it's not doing a version or a publish right now, but there are some prerequisite steps, right? You want to run the unit tests, run the build, run the linter, make sure that the code in this pull request is good, right?
Mm,
Based on your standards. So we can actually look at where these jobs are defined if you want.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Do
So
do you want to look at it here, or did you want to look at it in my IDE?
IDE might be a little easier,
Let's do that.
um, but yeah. So for GitHub Actions, all of what you need is in the .github folder. Not to
Oh,
be
what is
confused with the.
this?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
It's
okay,
in.
sorry.
It's. We'll
Is that
get
a
there.
reusable
You're getting
step? It
ahead.
looks like a reusable step. Awesome. That's
um,
cool. All right.
so,
Sorry.
but it's in the .github folder, not the
Okay.
.git folder. The .git folder has your version history. .github
Yeah, we
has
don't we
all of
don't
your
do the
Git.
dot. We imagine the dot git folder doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, I've made that mistake. I made
Yeah,
a
me too.
workflow in my .git folder, and I was like, why didn't it show up?
I know.
Anyway,
That sucks.
um, so what this first workflow we see here, CI,
Mhm.
this is the one that was run on that pull request. And if we look at the
Right.
pull request, you can see that it has that in the name somewhere in that action that was run.
Let me go back to there. Go back to my actual pull request, right? I guess this is the screen we want to look at.
Show all checks.
There we go.
Yeah, CI/build, CI/,
Okay.
CI is the name of the workflow.
Right.
So if we take a look in here, this first section, the on section, is your triggers.
Mhm.
So in this case, whenever someone makes a pull request, we want to run these steps, but we also want to run it whenever something is pushed to main from any source, right? Like Zach, now that you're a collaborator, if you push to main, I don't even know if you have access to, but let's say you did. If you push to main, it would run, right?
Right.
But it'll run on any changes to main, and it'll also run whenever a pull request
Okay.
hits any of these events: assigned, open, synchronized, reopened, labeled. They all have very, very specific meanings, and you can
Mhm.
look at that in the GitHub workflows API, or not API, in the docs. But the key one we care about is opened, right?
Okay.
You opened a pull request, so this workflow is going to run. Now,
Yeah.
the workflow is made up of a few different jobs. There's the test, build, and lint, as we saw showed up in the pull request, right?
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah. So
defined here.
these the three top level things in jobs, they
Hmm.
correspond to these three things, right?
Yep.
So these are
Yep.
three different machines actually going to go and run a job. Yeah.
Yes, and they happen in parallel by default.
Hmm.
Like you see, they're actually specified in this file: test and then build and then lint, but that's not really significant
Hmm.
because they're happening in parallel.
Right.
The reason they're in that order is that's the order I implemented them in this repo.
Gotcha.
um,
Fair enough.
but yeah, they'll
So
go
at
in
the top
parallel by
level, the
default.
idea though is whenever, for me specifically, whenever we make a pull request, we want to make sure we want to validate it. Like it should pass all
Yeah,
unit
yeah,
tests, it should build, it should pass the linting, right?
yep, yep. And if any of those fail, then it's going to hold up the pull request. None of them did on yours, but if
Well,
we ever
that's
made a
because
failing
I'm
one,
awesome. Awesome. That's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, yep,
I don't make
yep.
embarrassing mistakes like leaving my ES lint in there.
You know,
Just playing.
yeah.
All
I
right.
don't know. You misspelled embarrassing in the pull request,
Did
so
I?
just
This is why I went to computer science. It doesn't matter how you spell things, as long as you're
yeah,
consistent, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's why we end up with stuff like, what was it? One of our
Verisen,
helps. Yeah, this is how you
yeah,
end up with this.
yeah, yeah.
See, computers solve all our problems for us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like just because we have, I guess one thing to mention is like it's always in .github/workflows. So these
Yep.
things, I guess there's the CI workflow with the 3 different jobs, but we also have the publish and the version ones we can see here too.
Yeah, we'll get to those. We'll get to
Okay,
those after
sorry.
we merge the
I'm
pull
skipping
request.
ahead.
Yeah, skipping a little bit ahead. So let's
Sorry,
just
Austin.
peek inside these jobs real
Sure.
quick. Um,
Which one do you
so
want
they're
first? Test?
yeah, we'll start with tests. They're all very similar. So they've got a few steps. They're on an Ubuntu machine. You can see a timeout, miscellaneous things there. The steps are the
This is the
steps that this
interesting
is going to do in order on the same machine that's running the job,
Right.
right? So first thing you do, you check out the repository. If you don't have the code, you can't do anything with it, right? Um, and then the next thing we do is we install node npm in the dependencies. Now this is a number of things, and this is actually a reference to an action. So the action is just an abstraction of a bit of a workflow, right?
Gotcha.
And that's what you were asking about earlier in your actions folder. So you can go look at the actions. Yeah, go ahead and open that. Let's peek in there. So the name is
So
install dependencies.
maybe oh shoot. I got rid of the other file, but the way these things tied together is this was the path, my local path to this directory. I guess action is a special name for it, or does it
Yes,
matter that
that's
this was
by
named
that's
action?
by convention. It has
Okay.
to be called action.yaml.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So in here, it defines a couple steps, right? And the two steps that it does is first it installs Volta, which if you don't know what Volta is, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a tool for managing your Node.js version. And it's very nice whenever you change directories on your local machine into a Node project or a project that uses Node. If there's a version pinned in your package.json file, then it will use that by default.
Okay. So like
Right.
I
So
always use NVM, right, for this
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing, but this is more
It's
like tool centric, so we can
well
I don't know.
Volta. You can use it locally on your own machine.
Do you
Um,
use that instead of NVM?
I do, I do.
Okay.
So if you the key difference is that so with NVM you say NVM use whatever, right?
Mm,
So let's say you're working on an old project and you need to use Node 14. You use NVM use for like V14 or whatever, right?
yeah.
Um, with Volta, it does that automatically based on the
Yeah.
package JSON.
Like I
So
think right now, so that was just for this one shell, right? But if I open up another shell and do nvm ls, it's going to put me back. Like I didn't do anything aside from this specific session. Uh,
yeah, but
so
if you
Volta kind
change,
of changes this.
yeah, so if you were to change into a different directory, and that project should be using Node 16,
Hmm.
how do you know? And how do you know to do NVM use version 16? And if
Gotcha.
so, which minor version, right? That's what Volta solves. So if we look at the package JSON in the root,
Yeah, I was gonna
take a
say,
look at the
don't
very
they have?
bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Is there not a way to specify target node versions by convention or in the package JSON, just part of that metadata?
oh no, that's a good question.
Is that
Um,
like is there like a
maybe
node?
something with core pack. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um,
But
but
in any case, this
I
is specifically telling Volta which version of
yeah,
node
I
to
can show
use.
you it in action if I share
Yeah, sure.
real quick.
Do you want to
So
swap over to your screen?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, let's do that. There you go.
yeah. So you'll notice I have node-v, right? That's my
Hmm.
node version using 8.14. If I just do Volta list, this is going to be kind of like your NVM list. So
Hmm.
currently active tools, the version 18.14.0,
Hmm.
right? And tool binaries available. So what it does is it'll actually track which things I've globally installed and
Gotcha.
install the right one, like even as I change between node versions, right?
I see.
Um, so anyway, let's go up a directory and just do node-v again, 18.15.
Okay.
Right? I didn't have to do NVM use. I didn't have to say Volta use,
It
right?
just happened automatically because
It
it
happened
saw where you
automatically.
were, where your command working directory
Yeah,
was.
so what I've done is I've installed 18.15 by default. So I could do Volta install node at, let's see, 18. Okay, looks like 18 is the latest. So let's do a specific version, 18.2.0 or something. Just as an example. So that
Yeah.
sets my default, and it
Okay.
picks the bundled NPM with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I do node-v, I get 18.2.
Right.
Now, when I change directories into learn a CI CD example,
So this
I
is the
do
example we were
node-v
looking at. Okay. As soon as you do that, it's
18.14.
just automatic. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so
Pretty
if I
cool.
do Volta pin 16, node at 16,
Uh-huh.
that's gonna download 16 and update my package JSON to this, right?
Oh,
So
okay. So
now,
pin will automatically touch your package JSON to update what it should be, right?
yep.
Got it.
So now whenever I'm in here, node
Now
version
it's always going to be
16.20.
that.
So the nice
Oh,
thing about this is that it's in the code, right? As
yeah.
long as you've got Volta installed, it's in your code base, what node version you're using. So let's say I am collaborating on you or with you on this project,
Hmm.
and I want to update the node version,
Right.
right? Let's say we're on 14 and it's going to reach its end of life, end of April, right? We got to get up to the latest. So
Yeah.
if we're both using Volta and we've got the node version pinned, as soon as I do the update,
Hmm.
put it in, put up a pull request, get it merged into main, as soon as you pull the code,
Yep.
you've got that code change. And so when you run npm install,
Hmm.
or any command that uses node, Volta is going to automatically say, looks like you're on the other version.
Yeah.
Download the one you need.
That's really neat because
Yeah.
even switching branches, I imagine that would work. If there's one branch that had a specific version of Node,
Mhm.
that would just
Yep.
Volta would just do it. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. But if we get back to our, maybe you can take over
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
We're
Let me
looking
switch
at
back
the
to my screen
CI.
again.
So the nice thing about it in CI is that it's not actually set in that CI configuration in the
Oh,
ci.yaml file.
yeah. Sorry, I'm on the wrong file. I was too
We
busy
didn't,
watching your screen.
yeah, yeah. We didn't tell GitHub Actions what version of Node to install,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
So if we update our Node version, all we have to
It's
do is update
completely
it in there.
independent. So
Yep.
our CI falls in line essentially,
Yep.
right?
CI just falls in line. Yeah.
Whereas the way I typically do it, it's like you have to set, you'd have to come through in all of these and say, there's usually like a specific step, and it's like specify your node version, and then I'd
Yep.
have to do that.
Install Node 16 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So Volta abstracts that a little bit, makes it a little easier.
Yeah,
So anyway, back in our action.yaml file where we were
right.
before. So it
So coming
installs.
down here, we've hit this step, and we're saying,
Yep.
okay, use this action, and that action lives here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so there's two steps. It installs Volta,
Okay.
right? And then it installs the dependencies. So it just
Okay.
runs npm CI.
So this one itself is referencing another action. So this is a public action on like the GitHub
Yes,
Actions
yes.
workspace. So whenever we see something like this, that means we're just referencing another one. And then whenever we see something that just says run, that's just going to run this command. And
Yes, yes.
I've never specified which shell to use. So that's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So CI this is like what is this exactly? This is like download the packages exactly or something like that.
So npm CI is just like npm install,
Uh-huh.
except it's meant for continuous integration and for like automated environments.
Right. But
And
there's
so,
a bit different, it has a little bit different behavior, right?
yeah, so yeah, as you're getting to in the docs, like if you
Yeah.
don't have a package lock, it'll error. It follows your package lock exactly. It doesn't update it, right?
Right. Okay.
Um, Whereas if you run npm install and your package lock's out of date, like on your local machine, it just updates the package lock, right?
Hmm.
But the assumption is in
Oh,
CI, you shouldn't be doing that,
right.
right? Um, yeah. It
This was the
also,
one
yeah,
I
as you've
was
highlighted.
thinking of actually.
Hmm.
This was specifically the different behavior
Yeah.
that it will automatically remove any node modules
Yep. Yep.
from before. So you're not caching your dependencies. You're being very specific about let's make sure we get fresh ones each time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm guessing if we look at the times, that's going to be like the bulk of of these,
Yeah.
right?
It might
So
be. Yeah.
let's take a look. So I guess like over here we specify all the different steps to use. I guess it's really
Hmm.
this file, and then
Yeah.
it's just those just map right here, right?
Yes. Yes.
Actually, why is this called the unit test? Did you name it? Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. There's a name.
Cool. So yeah, like this whole thing took 33 seconds, and 20 of that was installing our dependencies. So yeah, I mean
Yes. Yes.
it is what it is. 9 seconds
Yeah.
for a test ain't bad.
Yeah. So for the tests, it ran learn a run test because it wants to run the test script on all of our packages.
Right. But that would be
So
the
yeah.
same as if right now, I guess I got a CD back to the root. But now if I
Hmm.
do learn a run test, sorry, npx learn a run test. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
I love this this output, by the way,
Yeah.
where you just see the things running in parallel. But
Hmm.
there we go.
Hmm.
So no fundamental difference between these things. We're just saying, I guess we could see it here in your CI. Like, yeah, there it was.
Yep. And that npx learn info, that's just printing some stuff to the output just for debugging sake.
Gotcha.
Prints
So
like
that's
your learner version, your node version, right? Your Git
gotcha.
version, packages you've got. Yeah, it's just for debugging. It's helpful. It's not needed, but I like it.
Chow, did you miss this? We just did a whole thing on what this was. But you
Yeah.
want to sum it up real quick? Maybe give a 30-second summary,
Yeah,
Austin.
basically the Volta CLI action installs the Volta tool, which it actually references a Volta property in package JSON to pick the node version.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to specify what node version in your ci.yaml file. Um, you don't have to specify a node version there. You've decoupled your node version from your CI steps.
Right.
And so if I make a pull request that updates to, I don't know, node 19, right? Then in that pull request, CI will automatically, through the Volta CLI action and using Volta, it'll automatically install node 19. I don't have to manually go into the workflows and say, okay, now I want to change setup node to do 19.
Yeah. The big thing for me is like you have one single source of truth for your node version. Um, you don't have to, if you ever wanted to say, oh, we gotta go from 18 or 16 to 18 or something like that, you have one spot to change it. You don't have to go individually touch all your different YAML files. And this will also affect like our local version. So it just
Yeah.
kind of automates all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Can you specify
Hash
cache
property.
property like setup node? Yeah, that was one of the benefits of like using the typical setup node steps is when we do this, there's like the you could just say it to cache. We're actually specifically ignoring, like even if we had cached it, the CI
Mhm.
step right here is going to blow them away. As we had also seen right before you had jumped on, Chow. So that's fine. But are you looking it up now, Austin? I can look it up too.
I haven't found anything. I would guess not. I would guess that it doesn't have that.
Yeah. Cache option. Let me just Google real quick, see if it gives us anything. These are all the parameters. JSON path, scope. Yeah, no. Doesn't, unfortunately. Looks like.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's fine. Like we were saying, the majority of the time here is in the install step, but it's still not a big deal. It's 33 seconds for the test. And these all three of our steps here are running in parallel. So it's just the longest stick that happened to be test this time. So 30 seconds
Hmm.
ain't bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So anyway, It does test and then lint and build all in parallel, and they're all pretty much the same in that ci.yaml file. We dug into the test job, but they, yeah, they're pretty similar.
Okay. So, but popping off the stack again. Let's go back to my pull request.
Yeah,
Back to
yeah.
our role playing. Me as
Looks like I have a notification in GitHub.
yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm role playing as the annoying contributor right
Mm-hmm.
now, and Austin's role playing as the maintainer. So now you've got, as a maintainer, you've gotten a notification that someone submitted a pull request and it passed
Yep. Yep.
CI. So do you want to share your screen at this point, maybe, Austin?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me get this out. Okay. Yeah, we can switch over
Cool.
whenever you're ready.
There you go. Oh, dark mode. Dark mode.
Dark mode. Yep. Okay, let's
So
zoom in
you
a
are a
little
man of culture, unlike me.
bit. Yeah. Yeah. So this is that repo. We can go to pull requests. I can see changing files and publish package.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I was really, really going through this,
You give me
right,
a
I
thumbs
want to
down before you do it, because just
give
be
you a
like,
thumbs down.
I feel like it would be wrong. Yeah, like right there, right under where I put embarrassing. There we go.
Better?
That'll teach me to be rude.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay,
like.
so
So
um,
interestingly, Austin, I didn't realize this. I got a push. I didn't refresh. I got your thumbs down in real time on my screen over here.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay,
Okay. Go to
so
the
we're taking a
review.
look here. Looks like you removed the npm ignore file, and we added a files property to package.json.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you approve?
I do approve. I approve.
Yay.
We'll approve this. Right? So this is ready to merge.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and merge it.
Cool.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, squash and merge. Yep, looks good.
Now I'm
Okay,
watching. Let me switch over to my screen real quick. I'm watching the actions tab. I don't see anything happening. Oh wait, there it is.
there you go. So this is off of main.
Mm-hmm.
So remember how we looked at that
Yes.
ci.yaml file?
Mm-hmm.
So it's also triggered off of main, pushes
Yep.
to main.
Right there.
And in this specific case, it's just running what was already run on the pull request.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times there can be jobs that you want to run only on main and not on pull requests.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's really long running jobs that um, that you may want to save for only pushes to main instead
Yeah.
of every single
Well,
PR.
also if you're just more cavalier sometimes and you just want to push directly to main, it's still
Hmm.
nice to get some. I mean, you wouldn't prevent it. It's already been pushed to main, but you can at least get some feedback like, oh, this just broke. The build just broke. Not that we have any experience with that ever happening before,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. None
But
at all.
there you go. So at least you get some feedback if that happened. But yeah, that finished up completely.
Yep.
But this is also a good case for like NX Cloud, I think. We're not using it here, right? But
Hmm.
if we had some sort of caching involved in this, because we already ran it at the PR level, we could have it to where like this is essentially just cached. So we wouldn't
Yep.
even need
Yep.
to. Well, it would be pretty much instant. I guess the way we're setting up our workflow files, we'd still need to wait for the install to happen, actually. But at least all the
Yeah.
other steps
Yeah.
would be instant, right? So
Yes. Yes.
cool.
Okay. So codes in main,
Codes in main.
right? So let's do a release.
Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
show your screen for this?
Sure. Sure. So the code's been in main. I'm a maintainer who says, Zach's code's pretty great. I wanna release it.
Yeah, you want to
Right.
get rid of that embarrassing faux pas.
Yeah, I want to get rid of my embarrassing lint file. So let's go over to actions now. What's configured here? There's three of them. CI publish version. We looked at CI
Mhm.
already. Version, or sorry, let's start with publish. Publish is going to be what actually publishes it to npm,
Right.
and this is fully automated. And we'll go through this script in a second.
Okay.
But it didn't create a publish workflow just off of Zach's merge into main, right?
Right.
There are some workflows you can explore where with every new pull request, you publish a new version automatically, right? But this repo isn't set up to do that. This is still set up to say one of the contributors or what one
Yeah.
of the maintainers wants to pick exactly when to
Well,
release, right?
maybe that's where this would kind of come into play, right? Like if we were following the conventional commit strategy, then it's like learner would always know what to do because it would
Yeah,
always
yeah.
be able to tell what had merged since the last times we published.
Yeah, yeah. So
Or
conventional commits allows you to do that and to make it automatic.
hmm,
But there's a danger with that too, which is that you're putting a lot of trust on your developers and your code reviewers, right?
hmm,
Because if someone fails to specify that a change is a breaking change in a commit message,
right.
right, then it won't be picked up
Hmm,
correctly and the wrong version will be released.
yeah.
And it'll all be done automatic. And so you won't find out until you've got a package that's been published out
Right.
there that you didn't really want published, right?
Yeah.
Unless you build in other safeguards in your CI.
Right.
But
I mean, the other case here would be like if someone put a breaking change and you as the maintainer actually didn't notice it, and you actually just released like the version 2, right? And
yeah,
and you didn't want to. Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no
Like if
plans
you if
around version 2. We wanted to do a press cycle and all this other stuff.
yeah, yeah. So if you want to specify, like maybe we do two major version releases a year, right? And
Yeah.
you want them to be very intentional,
Hmm.
then that continuous publishing, continuous deployment, and publishing to NPM
Right.
makes that a little harder, right?
And once you publish these things, there's no going back, right?
Hmm.
Like once you publish a version, there is no if we accidentally publish version 2.0, there will never again be a chance to do a 2.0. You
Yeah,
could do a
yeah.
2.0.1, but
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a costly mistake. It's an unreversible mistake.
Yes.
So
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Let me go back
Anyway,
to your
so
screen again. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So what we're going to be looking at is the version workflow,
Yeah. Well, I
and
guess
you'll know.
the thing about publish is just to notice that it didn't happen automatically, and that's
Yes,
because of the way we've
it
set these
didn't
up. And
happen automatically.
that's on purpose because of these pitfalls you're mentioning. So, oh,
Yeah.
message from Chow here. Uh, I used to go with semantic release automatically before, but I don't trust me enough, so I went back
Yep.
to semi-automatic instead.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the way Austin has this one actually set up. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. And there's arguments to get more automated when you really want to like scale up, and it gets to be a really big deal to do manual ones. But for now, like this is fine.
yeah.
So so it didn't happen yet. Let's go to version. So
Hmm.
I'm actually going to back up a little bit. So as we mentioned before, there's the npm version command and the npm publish command, right?
Right.
There's the learn a version command and the learn a publish command. There's two steps to this process.
Hmm.
The version command is what you use to pick the next version that you want,
Right.
update all of the files necessary,
Right.
commit them, push them back to main, and generate any change logs that would go with it.
Okay. And that
Right?
all happens inside of learn a version, correct?
Yes, that all
Okay.
happens with learn a version.
So
Um,
this is maybe let me share my screen again real
so
quick.
the
But
notable thing that version doesn't do
yeah,
is publish it to npm.
right.
Doesn't push it out to the registry.
Right.
Right?
So it stops there.
It
But
stops there.
I think like one of the things that's continually surprising to me is like you actually don't need it, right? Like at the end of the day, if you were a crazy person that wanted to do these versions all manually, you could. There's nothing
Yes.
that's stopping you from
Yeah.
doing that. This is more
You
of
could just increment the number, make the manual changes to whatever files you need, and
yeah.
just be on your way. Yeah.
I don't even need to do it in order necessarily. I could just do this like a crazy person and just
Yep.
or not like a crazy
Yep.
person, but just like an unrational person.
Yes, yes. And one of the nice things that Lerna will do for you is that let's say you've got 10 different packages here
Hmm.
and there's a web of dependencies between them, right?
Right.
And you're updating 5 of their versions, you
Hmm.
know, and some of those depend on others. Well, you want to bump the dependency version as well. So if you've got package A that depends on package B, you want package A to now depend on the new version of package B, right?
Right.
So if you were doing this manually, you'd have to go through every package JSON file, carefully not only change the version property, but change the dependencies property so that all the versions of the other updated packages are right. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles does not like me doing these things manually. I agree. Like, there's no reason you would want to. I'm just saying you could, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that, take that for what it is. But yeah. So
Yeah.
version is like a nicety. It's an automation step that helps
Yes.
us get there.
Yes. So, and then once you've done the version, one
Hmm.
of the key things that's really important for this strategy that Lerna utilizes is it makes a Git tag.
Hmm.
So when you're looking back in your history in source control, you can see, okay, version 1.2.1 was released, and this is the exact commit in our history that had it,
Gotcha.
right?
So
And
maybe just looking at the triggers here. So the triggers all
mhm,
going on. Like with CI, it was like whenever we do to main, whenever there's
yep,
a pull request of these various types, we run this. But if we look at publish, this is only happening when we push with a certain tag that matches this pattern, right?
yes, yes. So if you really wanted to mess stuff up, Zach, you could push a tag like that. Now it's
Ha ha
restricted.
ha.
You can put there are rules that you can add in GitHub where not anyone can create certain tags,
Right.
right? And that's actually on this repository.
Hmm.
But I believe in this case, I don't know if you have access to. I can because I'm the repo owner, right? I can override that rule. But
Yeah.
the key thing about this is that Lerna will create that tag
Right.
when we run that command. And so that's the key bit here. So when we run learn a version, it's going to create a v1.2.1 tag. And when that's pushed, it'll trigger this publish pipeline, this publish
Gotcha.
workflow.
That makes sense.
So that's what's going to happen. And if you
So
look at the trigger
so
for
Yeah,
yeah,
version's going to tag, it's going to do all the steps that you said. It's going to update all of our versions, going to hit a
mhm,
commit, going to push it to main, and it's going to tag that commit that got pushed to main. And
yes.
because of that, that's going to trigger this. But how does this one get triggered?
This
And
one
we got a
gets
question from Chad. Let's do that after
oh
we talk about this though.
okay. So this one gets triggered manually, right?
Right.
So it's on workflow dispatch, which is
Yes.
GitHub Actions way of saying when a person goes into the UI and clicks run,
Yep.
right? And it's
I
got an input.
always actually put a workflow dispatch on any of my actions just so I can trigger it if I
Hmm.
want to like debug it. Do you actually want
Yeah,
to show on your screen, Austin? I don't think, maybe I do have access to this, but why don't we show yours so you can like show where it
yeah.
looks like.
So the workflow dispatch, it's available to all, I believe it's collaborators.
Okay.
That are, is it collaborators? There's a security level
Yeah. Let's
that'll
not
in
show all the
GitHub.
security pieces
Yeah,
of it,
no,
but you can
I'm not
like,
going into there. But
yeah, we could set all those things at like the GitHub level. But like,
yes.
so on your screen here, I can see this workflow has a workflow dispatch trigger. But if you look at like publish and CI, can you click on those real quick? We don't see that here, right?
Yeah, we
So
don't see it. So
yeah,
that hasn't been configured for the other two, but for version it is there,
yeah.
right?
So here, and this is a button now
Yep.
that we can manually press. So we're putting
Yes.
in the manual version of saying I want to cut a release is essentially
Hmm.
what this is. And it's really interesting here because I was not aware of this until Austin had showed me yesterday, I think it was. But looking at like the version YAML file, I didn't know you could set inputs.
Hmm.
So what this is saying is Austin showing it on screen here. I'll switch back to him. He actually has uh, this little input here. Where I think you're going to say like which version it's going to be, right?
Yeah, so I can say it's going to be 1.2.1,
Hmm.
or I can just say, I know it's going to be a patch version,
Yeah.
right?
Because we're using conventional commits, what happens if you don't do anything? Would it be able to figure it out from conventional commits?
It would, but the
Nice.
way that I've got this set up right now is that this is required. I don't
Okay.
really want that to happen here. And
Okay.
that's kind of going back to before where I kind of want to have control over which version I'm publishing,
I see. Okay.
But you
Yeah, I
could do
guess I
that. You
guess if
you
you
could
would
remove
just
this, you could
yeah, go ahead.
remove this input
Mhm.
and just trust that conventional commits will pick the right one.
Mhm.
So you could just click run and it'll take whatever it calculates from those conventional commits. You could do
Right.
that. I don't have that set up here, but
Interesting.
yeah.
So at the moment with the thing we have set up, you can manually input something here, but you're actually, as soon as you hit run workflow, that's going to go ahead and version. And because it's going to version, it's going to trigger the publish workflow. And so
Hmm.
it's just going to go out. As soon as we click
Yep.
this is out the door. It's out of our hands.
Yes. Yep.
NPM take the wheel.
Yeah. Should we do it?
Do it, I guess.
Yeah. And we can answer Chow's question after while
Yeah,
it's all
yeah, yeah.
running. So
Sorry, Chow.
I'm gonna go ahead and say patch.
Suspense is building.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say patch.
All right,
So
all right. I'm gonna switch between our
run
screens
workflow.
back and forth here because I'm just watching. I'm just watching inside the actions tab. I guess I got to go to version.
Yeah, so it's
see
going
it.
to do version first.
There.
And I guess the yeah, let's answer his question real quick, and then I want to get into what the version CI file actually looks like.
Sure. So if a version field in package.json changes, wouldn't it burst the cache? Is that right? I always say bust the cache, but okay, whatever. For that project, if you use NX Cloud. So-
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It depends. Like you could maybe set things up specifically so that like you can fine tune the cache pretty well, right? But by default, anything inside of the package JSON is going to bust pretty much anything. We're not using NX Cloud in this project though, so
Yeah, yeah.
we could. It would be a cool addition to show, but I
Mhm.
don't know if we have time because we're already way past. But
Yeah.
it's all
yeah.
right. So
So-
it looks like version finished here. Can I check
Yep.
publish?
It's pretty quick.
It probably won't
It's in
take that long.
progress. Yeah. So one thing I want to point out, if you go back to code,
Uh-huh.
like
my
look at the
IDE.
code.
Oop.
Sorry, the Git branch. It
Oh,
pushed
sorry.
a commit. Let's look at the commit that it pushed.
Oh.
So
Let me do that
learn
in
a
the tab
version.
here.
You see that v1.2.1? You can see it on some of the files, right?
Oh yeah.
So it pushed a commit that changed that version file, like in learner.json, and it updated change logs, and it did all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So very importantly, there's two commits here. There's the one that I did, and this was, this was actually what you reviewed and approved.
Yep.
And then there's this one that was like automated by the GitHub action spot.
Yes. So Lerna created this commit
Yeah.
and pushed it. So this was created by that version workflow, and you'll see there bug fixes. Since we use the fix prefix, it shows under bug fixes, changing files and publish package. Right.
Yeah. Neat.
Yep.
Then version was bumped in Lerna. Package lock got changed.
Yep. You could look at it. It's four changes.
Wait, what? Oh, I pressed the wrong button, I guess. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep. So Lerna handled all of that, right?
Mhm.
More change
This is-
logs. So
Log.
there's a
What's this
root
change
level
log?
change log that is for all the different packages.
Okay, and
then
this
there's
is a package specific one.
Yep, package specific one. Yeah. So if you look at the random emoji package,
Yeah,
which
let me
we
find
didn't
that one.
touch. So yeah, version bump only for package. So this is because
Oh.
like if we think back to everything we've done so far, you only changed one package, right? You
Yeah,
only
I guess
changed
I
one
did.
package.
I was thinking I was doing this at some root level, but you're right. We only changed this for the other one. I guess have to do
So-
a follow-up PR to touch random emoji, right?
Yeah, but you'll notice it versioned both of them.
Right, it did.
And that is because of a force publish argument in Lerna. So this is to create a pattern that's pretty common, which is that if you've got a number of similar packages, you want to publish a new version of all of them at once. So you
Just to
can
keep
always
things on the same level, right?
Yep, keeps things all at the same level, even if some of the packages don't have an actual meaningful update.
Right.
Right. But you still increment the number and make a new version. So when you're going down and looking at your package JSON file, looking at all your dependencies, and you've got 5 or 6 packages from the same organization, and you're trying to figure out if they're compatible,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to see if they're all the exact same version number.
Right.
right? So this is set up to do that. That is not default behavior in Lerna, but is
Mhm.
very easily achievable with the force publish option, which we saw in our lerna.json.
Yeah, so that was right here. So force publish is
Yes.
true. So that just
And
means whenever one thing gets pushed, they all get pushed.
yes. And it actually also means that if you ever run the version uh, command, it'll publish all of them. So I could go click
Oh.
that button again and make version 1.2.2 even with no changes,
Mhm.
right? Um, so
Neat.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. So let's
So that was everything. That's cool. So
yeah. So is it done?
I think so. Let's see. I think we already saw the green on the publish, right? Actually,
Yeah.
before we look at that, Chell's got a follow up question. Can we look at
Okay.
that?
Hmm.
Um, so if you're building an OSS lib with multiple packages that share a version, it would require a different strategy to keep track of the version for publishing. Okay, so this is like that share a version. What would be your suggestions for that? Maybe I'm a bit confused, Chow. Are you saying you have some packages inside of a monorepo that you want specifically on a different version? Um, for example, I make changes to 1 out of 4 packages. Release strategy bumps all 4 versions, but I still want to keep the cache of the other 3 packages that did get affected. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're thinking of this in terms of the cache still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
yeah, I think in
that's
that case you'd have to set up some interesting caching there in order to get that to work where uh we wouldn't have to we wouldn't need to rerun things because we shouldn't need to, right? I
yeah.
guess that's more of a
Yeah.
minor issue, I would think. Like running these things
Well,
the
so you
yeah, go
might
ahead.
still need to if those packages are depending on each other, right? Because if you're bumping all of those packages and one of them depends on a different one, then you'd probably still want to run some CI tasks with the updated dependency,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm
Like
thinking
you might
like
still want end-to-end tests to run.
yeah. Yeah, you might, but I think there's like a valid point here. Like, say you just had a monorepo and there's one package and it had no
Hmm.
connections to the other 3. Let's just
Hmm.
say for argument's sake, that's possible. Why would updating like we did a release to update that one's version, and then the other 3 got version 2, so then any of their uh, caching just got invalidated essentially by that
Yeah.
even though it probably shouldn't have, right?
Yeah, you might be able to specify some more advanced rules for what can break the cache. Like maybe you ignore
Yeah.
the version property in package JSON
Yeah, I
or
think we
something.
have support for that, don't we? I feel like.
I think for NX, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Um,
so. I haven't tried it, but I think that would
yeah, I haven't
probably
tried that
work.
specifically either, but I seem to remember we had that
Hmm.
capability. So I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out. I'll have to check it out later. But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Sorry, where were we before?
Yeah, we were gonna just look at the let's look at the package on NPM. Did it make
Okay.
it? Is it out there?
Let's find out. I mean, it looks like it did because publish went well. I guess we could see the logs right here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Print environment, set auth credentials, publish package was from Git. Okay. So this is where this happens. So we can see Lerna calling the Lerna publish from Git. And this dash Y, this is just automatically saying yes to every question,
Yes, it's
right?
it's skipping the confirmation you would usually get.
Cool. So we're making that automatic rather than manual.
Hmm.
And yeah. Yeah, you got it, Chow. Thanks for tuning in, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so there we go. We're published. Tar
Yep.
balls.
So it's out there. It's got the new
Let me grab the name
files.
and we'll look it up on the registry itself.
Hmm.
That's the docs here. Finding the right tab is the story of my life, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Is this the right
So it's
version? 1.2.1? Yeah, that's right?
that's what we just did. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking in my head,
So
this is here, but that's because I have it pulled, right?
yep, you haven't pulled that commit that our CI
Yeah.
created.
So if I check out main and pull,
Hmm.
Now there we see it because we needed to
Yep.
pull in
Yep.
that the commit that the GitHub Actions bot did. Now we can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that
And
mentioned up.
sometimes if you've got like a larger organization, it can
Hmm.
be kind of a hindrance to have CI push back to your main branch like that because then you're constantly getting people's local branches out of date, you
Hmm.
know, and you could run into issues. And so you can also change how the CI works a little bit to make it create like do that whole versioning process on like a different branch
Oh,
and
okay.
release from a different branch and then make a pull
Oh,
request back into main,
that seems like it would
right?
be so much better. Wait. Wait, say that last bit again. What happens?
You, you
You
could
create a new.
release you could release off of different branches instead of main. So
Mhm.
the way this repo is set up is it's all off of main,
Yeah.
right?
Let me look at the commit chain because we can see every time we're doing a release, it's like it's putting something in the linked list, right? And
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
actually super disruptive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like all this is doing is a bunch of like chore-y kind of stuff that's just gonna like do things we don't want it to do, like bust your cache or give you weird things that you don't care about. So if instead of all these things being on main, if they each had their own branch, we could just release off of that branch, these would all just disappear from the chain, right?
They would, and you'd have to tell Lerna to include um, other branches when looking backwards for tags, because the
Okay.
way Lerna tells which
Oh, that makes
packages have
sense.
changed is by looking at past tags, right?
Yeah.
It
Like right now,
requires,
it's very easy to find those tags. But if
yeah,
we did what we're talking about and all of these things go away, it's got to crawl all the different branches,
yeah, and
right?
probably even if you had one of those release branches, you'd probably still want to merge it back into main eventually. But that could be
Oh,
from
I
a
see.
pull request that someone approves, um, or
Yeah.
even like an automatically created PR.
Yeah. So you'd see maybe every major version you'd see to come back in. That might be too far apart, but
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do it. That's a whole rabbit hole. You could have a whole nother live stream just talking about like branching strategies, you
uh,
know?
Edition Addict, welcome back, sir. hello to hello to your future self as well. Hello to your past self. Glad you were able to catch the tail end of that. I think we're pretty close. You still have to commit merge back to merge back that release. Yeah, I mean, really, what's happening? It's like the our versions are getting pulled in, right? Like, it doesn't seem
Yeah,
like a big
yeah.
deal to leave that out of the chain in main for a while to me. Um,
Yeah, so in
Maybe I'm
main,
missing something there though. I don't know.
it's got the updated dependencies between packages in your
Okay.
package JSON, right? And it's also got updated change logs.
Yeah,
And
that was the
so,
main thing I was thinking. Like if those things didn't come in, is like git diffing always can go a little weird, right? You might get these things out of order when it actually stitches everything together. I don't know.
yeah, there's approaches you can do where you don't push it back to main and you just kind of ignore
Hmm.
these changes. Like you generate a change log and push it to GitHub, but you don't actually put it in your code base, for example. Um, or
Mm.
you don't even leave a version property in all your package JSON files. You let it be generated and published, but in your main, you just don't have it there.
Right.
Lerna doesn't natively support that right now. Lerna is all based around like you want your files committed, your changelog files and your updated package files, right?
Right.
That's kind of how Lerna is set up to expect it right now.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, and then I think the only thing we didn't look at was the actual version.yaml file.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Do you
yeah,
want to take a look at that real quick? I
yeah, let's
guess we
take a
kind
look
of
at the
just like
version and
glossed
publish.
over that because I was like, oh, obviously this just does learn a
Yeah,
version.
so let's look and see what it's actually doing because there
Sure.
are some tricky bits in here. If we have time.
Let me just collapse all these down. I'm sure there's a way
Yeah,
to do them all. So we check out the repository, we install nodes. So this is just a shared step again, I imagine.
yep. That's the shared step, and that's why it's abstracted into an action because it's used in all of these different workflows.
Perfect. And then,
Yep,
okay, print environment, that's like, doesn't matter.
yep.
Configure Git. Is
So
there anything interesting here?
yeah, so this is what is setting GitHub's user email and username. So when you look back in the logs, that it shows up as the actions bot.
So
Right.
that's what's setting. That's how we can see this right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's how we can see that.
Cool.
And then, yep. And then the
There's
bump
all these
version.
weird Git settings, like Git config, that I know is a thing. I've never really bothered to figure out what it is. Like I know for a while, it was like some of my commits had one email and some of them had the other. I think it was like depending on like my Git config. I'm sure, right? But
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's all that step's doing. But then
And
this is
then,
the interesting one, I guess.
yep. So lastly, this is the interesting one. So this is
Mhm.
where it calls learn a version. It passes in the input,
Right.
right, from above.
Is dash
And
yes again. Oh,
yep.
so yeah. So this came from here. So
Yes.
inputs.version
Yes.
bump. That's how we can reference it inside of a GitHub action.
Yes. And
Interesting.
because this version command is going to perform that git push
Hmm.
to push back to main, we have to give it a GitHub token, right?
Right.
That has write access.
Right.
This is a personal access token that's configured in the settings for the repo. And
Did you have to manually set this one up, or is
mhm,
this one that's just standard in most GitHub projects?
I had to manually set that up. And
Okay.
that's because the one that's included can't be used to automatically trigger other workflows, I
Okay.
believe.
Gotcha.
The one that's automatically provided has some more limited uses,
Hmm.
and I needed more than that to get this to work, right?
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
so uh, it writes to the yeah, it pushes back to main
Gotcha.
essentially.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense
Um,
because, like you
er,
said, it's got to have access to write back and commit to main and actually push those things in. I'm guessing we probably missed this in the publish thing too, but I imagine you had to set a secret for like your NPM token too.
yeah, that's in the published script. Um,
Where was that? Did we miss it? Checkout, install, print environment, set auth credentials. Okay.
yes. So this has there's an npm access
Oh,
token secret in the repo because
right.
obviously I have access to publish this package, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so I have to give that access to GitHub workflow or GitHub Actions somehow. And this is how. And one thing to note is that if someone tries to run this, like on a forked repo or off of a pull request because they messed with the triggers, um, then uh, then they won't get that token. This token is only ever populated if it's being run like from someone who has access to it, essentially.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense. So,
yeah,
so the way these things have access is like this. This is just like the interpolation
yep,
syntax, right? But then secrets, like we could set those at the GitHub project level. So actually, this was something I did recently when I was working with an open source project. Because I had a fork, actually had my own version of the secrets that I could use to like test some stuff out with the automation. So I had
yeah,
my own versions of the secrets, and they didn't even have to merge in on my work, and I could still just do it on my own fork of it. But that was cool.
yeah, yep.
And maybe
And
show
then
uh
so
somewhere in here
Chow
is,
pointed something out too.
yeah, let me throw that up
So
there.
I think I was slightly yeah. So let's go back to the version script.
Sure.
So I think you're right. I think you're right, Chow. So the GitHub token is what's automatically provided.
Okay.
What I was thinking of is in the
That's this one
checkout.
right here.
Yeah, what I was thinking of is in the checkout repository section. I kind of missed it because they're all collapsed. But if you can expand the checkout repository section,
Sure.
yeah.
Oops.
This,
Oh.
yes. So I believe the reasoning why, so this GH underscore PAT, that's the personal access token I was talking about.
Okay. So you set this one up yourself. This was
This
not,
one
this
up
didn't come in
here, yes.
automatically.
I think the GitHub token, Chow's right, that one's provided, but and I don't even know if we really need that one on the very, very last step. I'm not even sure if we
Yeah,
need
I
to specify
imagine like
that. We'll
for all
see.
these things, like we should be able to just do like this. It would automatically use the GitHub token,
Yeah, I
right?
think it would.
I think we
But
can
I
actually see
believe
that if we look in the actions, I want to say. So this, what was that? That was publish or that was version?
version.
If we look at
Yeah, and
this,
I believe the reason why I had to do that was because, like I said before, the tag, the v dot star, like the v dot one dot two dot one tag is protected.
right.
And so I don't think the
Oh,
normal GitHub token can push to a protected tag.
yeah.
Um, Whereas my personal access token can because I own the repo, right?
Yeah. I assume all blame Chow, just so you know. I was very rude in my, you probably missed this, Chow, but I was very rude in my initial PR, which was, yeah, it was very rude to Austin. So Austin responded appropriately, though. In fact, I echo your sentiment. Shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Did we hit everything, Austin? Are we there?
I think we hit everything. I think that's
Okay,
it.
cool. Well, that was pretty. I feel like that was pretty exhaustive.
Hmm.
I think this is a great stream. Gotta have to put this together and maybe into a YouTube video. I've been working on like a publishing video for a while now, so that's how I was able to remember a lot of these things off the top of my head because I've been trying to figure out so many weird dimensions to this thing. It's not a straight line; it's literally a graph. That's what I was trying to do initially with the with this Excalidraw thing. It's too hard to figure out how all these things
Yeah, yeah.
interconnect in like a way that you can do like the whole thing with YouTube is trying to get it to something that you can say in like 5 minutes or so, right?
Hmm.
Try to figure out
Yeah,
how
good.
to lay out this whole graph and connect it all for people in 5 minutes is
Yeah,
going to be
good luck
interesting.
with that.
I know. Thanks. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the answer is to just like trim off some stuff like conventional commits, even though it's like a really nice thing. I feel like
Hmm.
that would have to be its own like category or its own follow up or something like that. So yeah, Husky. So Husky just falls into this category. Like we had published our side quests. Husky's just like this one tool that you could use to kind of help yourself out a little bit. We talked about to your future self edition addict. We talked about Comitizen as well. That's like another tool that can help you do a lot of this stuff to help you not automate it, but just like make it a little nicer, I guess, to make sure
Yeah,
you.
like instead of having a Husky, well, you could still have the Husky um, commit hook to validate that it's done right, but instead
Yeah,
of just guess and check, like Husky seeing that it's wrong, and then you go back and be like, shoot, I have to amend my commit message. How do I fix this, right?
yeah. Git
Um, com-
reset head tilde 1.
yeah, 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 exactly. But Comitizen will at least help you do that proactively, right? So
Yeah,
instead of having to go through that experience, you can use Comitizen and say, okay, I want these 3 bits of information. You just make the commit message, right?
right.
In the way that it should be formatted.
So Chow uses release it plus an X for my OSS, but I don't think I have enough knowledge to do a full stream like Austin. Awesome stream, folks. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll. Maybe we'll do a summary on this one. I'm not sure. We'll see what I have
Hmm.
time for. Right. A lot of stuff coming down the pipes for us as usual. So
Hmm.
Chow's part of the team that keeps those releases pumping out. So cheers to Chow and cheers to Austin coming in now. Austin had been one of our last engineers, kind of still doing a lot of client work. Now he's coming on full time and to work on our internal stuff like Lerna and maybe NX a little bit too.
Hmm.
I think you're focusing
Yeah.
on Lerna to start, right, Austin?
Yep. Mostly Lerna. Yeah.
So it's going to be great having you on to do all that stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what all we can do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Me too. Me too.
yeah. Well, let's wrap it up there. This was fun.
Okay.
I'm sure there's other side quests we could take on. Maybe we can do another stream about that
Oh
sometime
yeah. Yeah.
because this was fun, Austin.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cheers
Yeah.
to
Thanks for
everyone.
having me on.
Yeah, you got it, man. Cheers to all your future selves who made it
Yeah.
this far.
Yeah. Who saved this stream VOD and just want to replay it later?
Why not? Why not? We
Yeah.
get a good
Yeah.
decent amount of views on these, so I'm
Hmm.
surprised.
Hmm.
But yeah. Cool. Well, Catch y'all later.
Yep. See ya.